Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming one of the great teen movie actors of the 80s. I've been trying to get him for almost a year now, and it's finally going to happen. Malcolm Danare. You may remember him as Caesar in Heaven Help Us. He was also Moochie in John Carpenter's Christine. He was one of the Frogger kids in National Lampoon's European Vacation. Oh, I gotta ask him about that. He was in Flashdance, The Curse, Popcorn, so many great movies. And I'm having him on today to talk about all that stuff, and I can't wait. Like I said, it's been a while coming and everything, and it's going to be awesome. So, here is my interview with Malcolm Danare. So, Malcolm, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Tommy. I'm doing good. How are you?
I am just spectacular. This is just such an honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Excellent. I'm happy to take the time.
Wonderful. So, going back in time, even before your amazing journey that you're going to go into in a bit, did you gravitate towards movies and entertainment early on?
Tommy, the only thing I really did that had anything to do with acting was when I was in high school, I had to take a class to get enough credits to, graduate. So
right.
I did an elective class, which was a drama class. And really, that was it. And, it was like scene study in high school. But I really didn't, know anything about acting, didn't know what I wanted to do. And that's really it, up until the point I auditioned for the Lords of Discipline,
Mm-hmm. And you're originally from L.A.?
Yeah, born and raised in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say. I'm proud to say, man, I love Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. You grew up there in a magical time. I mean, I've only got to see the last 30 years of it. I got to see, like, the tail end of it back in, like, 1990 when I first got there and stuff. I remember going to the Walk of Fame and just couldn't believe how magical it was because it still had like an old Hollywood feel to it. But in the last few years that I've been going there, I'm just like, oh my God, it reminds me of San Francisco where I'm from.
Yeah, Los Angeles, there, it's definitely lost the charm that when I broke into the business in 1981, it was still, you still had the studio contracts. You still got to, get put under a 3-picture deal, 2-picture deal. It was just really fun, and the movies back then were still they were really fun films to watch and to actually participate in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's just the magic is now it's changed now with the internet.
I think with the internet also, I think, listen, I was a chubby, actor when I first started out.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say I've lost a ton of weight, but, also lost a ton of hair too. But, when I started out, I was cast for a certain character.
Yeah.
And those characters, were the overweight, chubby guy, but I never wanted to do any type of acting in a movie where it would exploit anybody who's overweight. In exploiting, I mean, I didn't want to be one of those guys who would eat hamburgers and make a slob of myself and, make fun of that sort of character.
Yeah.
I was, one of those overweight characters who, would ultimately come to his demise or, get the woman at the end, which I really dug. And that's the kind of characters I really liked playing, or the bad guy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you've played some pretty good characters, I have to say.
Yeah, no, I've been really, really lucky to have played those characters. You know, and then if you want to go back to the beginning, I grew up in a place called Encino, California.
Right.
And I graduated in 1980 from high school, and I didn't know what I was going to do, and so I got a job at Miller's Outpost, which was kind of like the Gap,
Mm-hmm.
but it was one of these places, it was like a clothing store, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do in college. I just really had, really didn't have a lot of desire to do anything other than, man, I'm out of high school, I'm done. So one day I'm, working at, like I said, I'm working at Miller's Outpost, and my father calls me up, and my father owned a limousine company and a cab company in Los Angeles. And it just so happened a guy broke down in his car. This guy broke down in his car, this director. And my dad and the director started talking, and my dad said to the guy, "So what do you do?" And the guy said, "Well, I'm out here casting a film. I'm a director." And my dad said, "Hey, my son's an actor." Like I said, never acted really a day in my life. And next thing you know, the guy said, "Hey, can I see a picture of your son?" And my dad shows him a picture, and he goes, "Man, he'd be really good for a role that we've been trying to cast for the last 6-7 months." And my dad said, "Hey, I'll call up my son and have him, meet you." The guy said, "That'd be great. You help me, with my situation. My car broke down." So my dad calls me, says, "Hey, Malcolm, go to Paramount Studios. A guy by the name of Frank Rodham wants to meet you." I said, "Who's Frank Rodham?" And my dad said, "Hey, he's a director of a movie." I said, "All right, okay, well, what am I supposed to do?" He goes, "Hey, he just wants to meet you for an audition." "Well, what's an audition?" What do you do?" "I don't know. Just go in and meet him." I went in. So it's funny. So at the time, I went in, and it was at Paramount Studios at a place called Trailer 9.
Mm-hmm.
And I go into Paramount Studios. My name is waiting for me at the door, at the gate. I go in, and I go into Trailer 9. And what's really interesting, Tommy, is the first person I see sitting on a couch is John Boy Walton. I'm like, oh my God, it's the first celebrity I have ever seen in person in my life. I was completely starstruck because I love the Waltons.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I know, I'm sitting on the couch and I'm looking at John Boy Walton, and I'm just sitting there, not doing anything. So this guy, this really good-looking man walks in, and he's with an entourage of people. And as he walks by, he looks right at me, and he's got this really thick English accent. He goes, "Hey, who are you? Who are you?" I said, "My name is Malcolm Danare." And he goes, "Malcolm Danare." And he goes, and he looks at this woman who at the time, not at the time, but her name is Ellen Chenoweth, and she's the casting director of the movie. I haven't told you the movie yet, but I'm pretty sure you know which one it is. But so he says, "Ellen, this guy's perfect for petite." And I'm just sitting there. He goes, "Come into my office right now." And this guy couldn't be more excited. So he sits there and he says, "So who are you, Malcolm?" And I said, "Well, my name is Malcolm Danare." And he goes, "What type of acting have you done?" And he's really excited. And I said, "Well, I never acted a day in my life." And he goes, "What?" I said, "I've never acted a day in my life. I don't know what I'm doing here." He says, "Malcolm, just hold on." And he gives me the sides, and I had no idea what sides were. He goes, I want you to read this dialogue." So I read the dialogue, and he goes, "Can you do a Southern accent?" I said, I don't know. I don't know. He goes, "Try to do it with a Southern accent." So I do it with a Southern accent. He goes, "Ellen, we've found petite." And I have no idea what petite means. And he goes, "I want you to call in Herb Jaffe. I want you to call in, at the time, he was the president of Paramount Studios. His name was Don Simpson." Mm-hmm. So they call all these people into the office, and he says, to Don Simpson and Ellen Chenoweth and Herb Jaffe, who's producing. He goes, Malcolm, I'm filming a movie. I'm shooting a movie called The Lords of Discipline. I know it took a long time to get there, Tommy, but I just, And he goes,
okay.
Malcolm, would you like me to change your life? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, I'm offering you one of the pivotal roles in the movie of The Lords of Discipline. And I said, are you bullshitting me? He goes, no, I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not. And he says, this is the president of Paramount, Don Simpson. This is Ellen Chenoweth, who's casting it. This is Herb Jaffe, one of the producers, and I'm the director. I'm offering you the role of Poteet. And I said, absolutely. And I said, okay, fine. And next thing I know, I get a 3-picture deal from Paramount Studios.
Wow.
And the 3 pictures, and you're going to laugh at this one, it was funny because I get back from, shooting The Lords of Discipline. I'll tell you more about that film because that starred David Keith and Michael Biehn and Bill Paxton and Judge Reinhold and John Lavicelli. I mean, it started the careers of all of us. I think David Keith was the only one who had done a lot of movies well, not a lot, but he had just done The Rose.
An Officer and a Gentleman.
Officer and a Gentleman.
Yeah.
And here I am, I'm doing this movie in London, England for 4.5 months. And, it's just all about testosterone of guys and all this shit. And next thing I know, I get home and I get cast in another Paramount film called Flashdance. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, look at all the naked women on Flashdance. This is Hollywood, man. This is it. This is just unbelievable. So, that was really how I got into the movie business. There you go.
That is incredible. And yeah, I've heard similar stories to that. People, they had no interest in acting and then they fell into it like that because somebody in Hollywood knew somebody, That's just incredible. That is an amazing story, Malcolm.
Thanks. I'm proud of it. I really am. Because I worked my ass off, I didn't...
Yeah.
I wasn't a one-time guy, you know what I mean? Oh, here's Malcolm, he does one really cool movie and he gets a lot of doors open for him. Flashdance opened a lot of doors. And then I was given 2 movies to read, 2 scripts. Mm-hmm. One was called Police Academy 1.
Yeah.
The other was Christine. And I thought to myself, and I said to my agents at the time, man, John Carpenter, I'd just seen The Thing, and I knew all about Halloween. And I'm like, man, forget about Police Academy. I want to break my contract with Paramount Studios, and I want to do Christine. So we end up breaking my contract with Paramount Studios to do 3 pictures. But I end up doing Christine, which has now become like the biggest horror movie cult film for cars, So it was amazing. It really was. So those were my first 3 films. It was like Lords of Discipline, Christine, Lords of Discipline, Flashdance, and Christine. And then the doors really opened to, a movie I know that you really dig, Tommy. So
yeah, I can imagine you. I can imagine you playing Donovan Scott's role in Police Academy.
Yeah, and whatever it was, man, I don't even remember what role it was. It could have been that one, but whoever it was, I was offered it and turned it down, and I'm so much more happier to have done, a movie that Stephen King wrote and John Carpenter directed. So, hey, I can't complain there for my 3rd film. You know what I mean? Right.
So, The Lords of Discipline was your first movie. Were you nervous at all making that?
I don't know if I was nervous, but I had to say I found it extremely exhilarating to know that on the other side of the camera are like 60 people doing different things, and you're in front of the camera doing, saying lines to another actor. I thought it was the most incredible thing I had ever experienced in my life. Here I am acting with David Keith, and I'm, the first scene we shot in Lords of Discipline was the scene where I get really, I get the shit kicked out of me by Rick Rossovich. You know, his character. You know, I don't know. Rick Rossovich has got to be about 6'5", 6'6" anyway.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
You know, here I am doing the first scene of my entire life of acting, and in front of a camera, and I'm getting beaten up, and here I am crying, and you know, the crying had a lot to do with what was going on in the scene, but it was also like, man, acting is fun. This is like, oh my God. And then afterwards, everybody comes up to you and they're like, man, that was fucking brilliant, man. That was unbelievable. But little do they know, I'm homesick. I've never been away from my home in Los Angeles. I'm crying because I'm homesick. I'm crying because I've just been beaten up. And I'm crying because I know the character needs to cry. You know?
Yeah.
It's just working, man. It's just, everything was just, all cylinders were running for my first scene. So I don't know if I was nervous. I really don't think I was nervous.
It sounds like it sounds like you got addicted to acting from then on, but was the waiting and the downtime the only downfall of it?
No, man. You know, it was really neat because when I got on a movie set, it felt like I should always have been on a movie set. You know what I mean? It just, I loved the schmoozing on a set. Mm-hmm. I loved watching how the DPs work. I loved watching how how other actors work. I just loved it. I just loved I still, to this day, as a producer or a writer, as an actor, I still love being on a movie set. I find it exhilarating. Yeah, I find the downtime and I find the wait, hurry up and wait. I find that, crazy, but I love being there. I just love it. I love everything about it.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So then you did Flashdance.
So did Flashdance, coming from a movie, which had a ton of guys. It was just all men, it was all guys and testosterone, and there you are. You're the kid who gets beaten up, and then you're the kid who commits suicide or you die, and that in the movie. But the thing what was really interesting, I'll get right back to Flashdance. The biggest thing that was amazing about the film, because it was a true film. So the character I portrayed was a real man, was a real boy, and I got a letter from the parents of the boy mm-hmm. saying, thank you so much for making our son a hero in our eyes. Because in the movie he wanted to prove that he was a man. And next thing you know, there he is trying to prove he's a man, but he falls off of a ledge trying to do it. So the parents of this young man were just very grateful that I made their son look like a hero in their eyes, and that was really fun.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Not fun, but it was really touching and poignant,
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful.
But then I get back, and then I do Flashdance, and I couldn't have had a more fun time, being around every naked woman in the world, because, you go from guys in a movie to all women, and it was just like, it was unbelievable. I was like a kid in a candy shop, and yeah. I can't even tell you what it was like. And then acting with Lee Ving, and, he was just outrageous. The guy who was supposed to first do the movie was supposed to be Keith Richards playing the Lee Ving role, the Johnny C role.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh my God, it's going to be Keith Richards.
Right.
And he couldn't do it. And then it was going to be Bob Geldof. But Bob Geldof was still finishing a movie called The Wall, the Pink Floyd film. Mm-hmm. So they ended up getting Lee Ving, who I couldn't have had more fun with. He's in this punk rock band called Fear.
Right.
And he was just amazing, and we just got along great, and, everybody on the Flashdance set were great, and Michael Nuri and Jennifer Beals, and I, became best friends with Kyle Hefner, who in the film, I, punch out and beat up. There's a funny story in that thing, so when we're doing that scene where I knock him out, mm-hmm. I actually, and unfortunately, knocked Kyle Hefner out.
Oh.
We got a little too into it, and I tagged him right. I never hit a guy in my life. And next thing you know, I tagged poor Kyle Hefner right in the chin and knock him out cold. And I still have the outtake of when we shot that scene. I punch him, and next thing you know, I'm like, Kyle, oh my God, and I'm like cradling in my arms, and then they stop they cut the shot, but it looks really good on a blooper reel. I'll give you that one.
Oh my God. Yeah, Jennifer Beals. Oh man, if she only knew what she did to me.
Yeah,
she's a gorgeous woman.
Man, well, let me tell you something. Her, and if you only knew what all the women were like on that set, and I mean, it was a time of flirting and having the best time ever, and and being the bad guy in the film gives you that advantage. You look like a bad guy, you're dressed like a bad guy. It was just there's some untold stories that went on that set. I'll give you that one.
I can imagine. It's probably the most iconic bad movie ever made.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, who knew that I'd be in this 80s iconic movie that actually changed the way some films looked at that time. It was a music video. It was just it was a 2-hour music video,
Yeah, it was like, the Saturday Night Fever of the 80s. Paramount was starting to make those, music video fluff movies at that time.
Yeah, Fame, absolutely, Saturday Night Fever, all these types of films. And, listen, I'm grateful to have been in Flashdance, to be in that iconic film. It was a blast. It really was a blast,
Yeah. And this is before. And this is before. This is before Adrian Lyne started making those erotic sex thrillers. Like Fatal Attraction. And 9.5 Weeks and all those. Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was fun. And then then all of a sudden you get Christine, and then all of a sudden, little do I know that 35, 38 years later, that this film is like the most sought-after cult film about, a horror movie about cars. And I'm happy to say that I've got the iconic running scene in that movie from the car,
Mm-hmm.
And then, you get cut in half.
Yeah. So tell me about Christine. You turned down Police Academy to do this movie, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, I said to my agents, man, I just don't want to do Police Academy because it was a little exploitive with the bad guy, and I didn't want to do that. And I had just done a bad guy in Flashdance, and I had done the guy who dies in the sympathetic character.
Mm-hmm.
I still wanted to try another bad guy, and Moochie was it was Buddy Repperton and Moochie that were the bad guys, other than Christine being the bad woman or the bad car. But who knew that Christine 38 years later was going to be this cult sensation? I would never have known. I would never have looked at it, figured that out.
Yeah. What was Moochie named after Kevin Corcoran from those Disney movies in the 50s?
No, I think, Moochie was kind of like, it's just such an obnoxious name. I don't even know if the character, I'm sure the character had a real name, but, he was always just known as Moochie, and it was just such an obnoxious name and just an obnoxious guy. And, there was one scene that was cut out of the film, which it was such a disgusting scene, but, it's made reference to, but we did shoot the scene where the Moochie character, takes a dump on the dashboard of the car.
Oh.
And Yeah, and if you get the 50th, the 25th edition or whatever it is,
Yeah.
there's all these different outtakes of the film, and I mean, they actually show that scene that we shot, but it was I think just way too disgusting to put in the film, but it is made reference to.
Yeah, it's in the wrong movie. It should be in Dumb and Dumber or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, there was that, and it's so weird because I'm blown away, on how many people just love this film. You love Christine. Blown away by the fact that I go to some of these conventions and people are dressed like me and they're wearing the hoodie. I was actually one of the first guys ever to wear a hoodie in a film, But, I mean, they come dressed as you, and it's a compliment, but it's also freaking bizarre. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just bizarre, But, hey, look, you know what? I love the fans of this film. I've had nothing but great experiences in meeting people and having them, ask me the one question everybody always asks, Tommy, is, once Moochie gets caught in the loading dock, why don't you just jump on the hood of the car and run away? I said, well, the only reason I don't jump on the hood of the car because it wasn't fucking written that way. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It's now a big joke with all the fans. They always say to me, well, why don't you jump on the hood? So it really is, it's more of a joke now. But there were some people that were serious and said, well, I don't understand why you just didn't jump. Well, because Stephen King and, Bill Phillips didn't write it that way. So
Yeah. I think
it's funny.
I think it's one of Carpenter's best movies, and it's a great Stephen King adaptation. It's different.
It really is. I mean, it really is. I mean, but I love Stand By Me. I love The Shining. I love Misery. So there's so many
movies.
different films that have just been, adapted to films by a Stephen King novel that, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Now, how was it working with the other guys? Keith Gordon, Stephen Tash, Stu Charno.
I loved them. Stu Charno, Stephen Tash, Bill Ostrander, John Stockwell, Alexandra Paul. And what was really cool was, I got to work with. I didn't have any scenes with him in Christine, but I did in Lords of Discipline. So the great Robert Prosky. We got to be in that film together. So, we got to be in Lords of Discipline and Christine together. Unfortunately, no scenes ever in each film, but it was great. No, everybody was fun. I mean, look, one of the best practical jokes I have ever seen in my life was done on the movie Christine, and John Carpenter did it. It was, the producer of the movie had a really beautiful Porsche, Richard Kobritz. Mm-hmm. He would drive the Porsche to the set every day and get out and actually put a car cover over the Porsche. So, it was just like, man, okay, that was fun. So John Carpenter told everybody in the film, I'm going to do something. So they get the car cover from the Porsche, and they actually move the Porsche away from where Richard Kobritz, parked it that morning, and got a Volkswagen, a beat-up old Volkswagen, put the car cover over the Volkswagen, and then as we're all sitting down at lunch, there's a bulldozer, and it's going through the parking lot, and it goes over Richard Kobritz's, what he thinks is his Porsche. But it's, there's a Volkswagen under the car cover, and he had a heart attack. It truly was one of the best practical jokes I've ever seen, ever. And Carpenter was just a big practical joker, really, really, really big practical joker, and just an incredible guy to work with. I know he's a cantankerous old fart now, and I see him a lot, and I always joke around with him. I said, Mr. Curmudgeon or Mr. Cantankerous.
Yeah.
And he loves it. We still get along really well. I have a good laugh with Carpenter all the time when I see him at the conventions,
Oh, that's great. That's great. And whatever happened to Mark Popple?
I was friends with Mark for a while, but I'm not. I dug him. He was the quarterback in the movie, I think, and then he went on to do a movie called Night of the Comet.
One of my favorite movies of all time. I've been trying to find him just because he's in that movie.
Well, I dated a woman from that movie for quite a while. Her name is Kelly Maloney. So
Kelly's a good friend.
You ever talk to Kelly or interview her, give her a big hello from Malcolm.
Oh, yes. Kelly was my first friend when I first came to Hollywood in adulthood. And I saw her a couple weeks ago out there at a movie premiere and stuff. So I'll definitely mention that I talked to you. Yes.
Yeah. Tell her I think highly of Kelly. She's a lovely, lovely woman. So yeah, but she was really fun. But yeah, Night of the Comet. I couldn't tell you where Mark is. I think Kelly could tell you.
Yeah, there's no woman more nicer, more real than Kelly.
Oh, she's incredible, beautiful, lovely woman. Loved it, love her, still love her. So, but then after Christine came, the movie that really opened the door for me as an actor. I got to say, it really did. Was Catholic Boys, but
Heaven help us.
In the United Kingdom, it was called Catholic Boys, but out here, it was called. You tell me what it was.
Heaven help us.
There you go.
One of my favorite teen movies of all time. I love how the movie balances between being this nostalgic teen sex comedy, but with a coming of age sweetness to it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, when I read the script, I knew in my heart and in my soul that nobody was going to play the role of Caesar other than myself. There was just nobody. And I remember getting the script, and then my agents, I said, I will do anything for this role. And I went beyond and above everything. I mean, I auditioned for that movie, I'm going to say, at least 12 to 13 times.
Wow.
Flew to New York probably twice, mixed and matched with Andrew McCarthy, because I think C. Thomas Howe was up for that role. I think there was this other lovely actor who I really dug, his name was Chris Makepeace, and he had done that movie, My Bodyguard. But, luckily Andrew got that role. So, but man, I auditioned so many times for that film, and finally, got it. And I ate that movie up. I loved doing Caesar.
You earned it, Malcolm, because it's a great powerhouse performance. Because
thank you.
Yeah, he's an intellectual who wants to be a psychiatrist instead of a priest, and he writes an essay for a paper that he plagiarized.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a great flawed character.
There were so many different things about Caesar. I understood, what acting was about. I understood that, you go on the set, and the main thing is you got to know your lines. But I really kind of went in depth with Caesar because you don't know really how Caesar would turn out as an adult. So I played him as an adult, and I had just read a book called Confederacy of Dunces.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever read that book?
I've heard of it.
And I really, as much as I knew where I was going to go with Caesar, I based Caesar off of the lead character of Ignatius from Confederacy of Dunces.
Mm-hmm.
So I played him very prissy. I played him extremely stuck up.
Yeah.
And I said to Michael Danare, the director, I said, Michael, and this is years later, I said, Michael, you never really gave me any direction on the character. He said, Malcolm, if I would have told you to do anything different, I would have ruined what you were doing on the set. And I said, wow, well, thank you. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of that character because it's so different from Moochie, so different from, the other movies I had done before that. So I really went in detail on that one.
Yeah, when I had Jay Patterson on a couple of months ago, he told me this, and I could not believe it. Him, Andrew McCarthy, John Hurd, they did a lot of drinking on their off-duty hours.
It was funny. I really, honestly do not know that.
Yeah.
I know that Andrew came in and Jay came in, gave incredible performances for me to act off of. So I didn't really know about their festivities, after work. I really didn't, because the guys I hung out with, Patrick Dempsey. I had
Dempsey.
a really cool apartment in in New York at the time, and Patrick Dempsey became my roommate because he had nowhere to stay. So he said, "Oh, Malcolm, can I stay with you?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So Patrick was living with me, in my apartment, and it was a blast. I mean, Patrick and Kevin and I hung out a ton. Kevin Dillon and then Andrew hung out with his. We all kind of clicked with other people. Even though Andrew and I played best friends in the movie or friends in the movie, we didn't hang out a lot.
Yeah, but you guys work so great together, though. And
yeah, it was he was great, and working off Kevin Dillon was just we had a great time.
yeah, even though he calls you faggot like 100 times throughout the movie.
yeah, completely. He calls me that, but after Kevin and I could not have hit on more lovely, beautiful extras during the film. So that he was great, man. Kevin, calling me a faggot. It was just all a part of the character.
Of course,
it just worked. That movie just works,
Yeah, I love the scene where you guys are all naked in front of Philip Bosco.
Oh my God! As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you that was the first day of shooting on Heaven Help Us.
Oh boy!
first day, and here I am standing completely naked in front of Philip Bosco, and here's Philip Bosco doing this incredible monologue in front of at least 30 guys, naked, completely naked guys. And everybody laughs at that scene. They're like, the only thing we don't understand is where did Caesar carry that handkerchief?
Yeah.
While he's blowing his nose. It's like, where on earth did he carry the handkerchief?
Yeah.
So there were a lot of jokes there.
Oh, my God. And I love when you're making out with Yardley Smith, and then Larry Bud Melman, does that thing as the dock supervisor that makes, the train coming. Yeah.
It was funny because the original scene, which I'm so glad they turned it on to the, they put it on the, excuse me, on the bridge, or the moving bridge, whatever you want to, I don't know what they're called. I don't know what those types of bridges are called. But it was supposed to be, we were all making out, Yardley and I, my character, were making out in the back seat. Kevin and, Dana Barron, who is still a lovely, dear friend of mine. And, she was, what was the name of her character in Vacation? She was
Audrey.
Daughter. Audrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was Audrey. So the scene in that one was we're all making out in the car and we're all doing what we're doing. And Kevin's character
Rooney.
Rooney has to get out of there real quick. So instead of him driving backwards, he drives forward into the Gowanus Canal. So it was just kind of interesting the way they changed things in scripts, you know?
Yeah.
And Yardley, oh my God, Yardley. You know, she went on to be
Lisa Simpson.
The Simpsons, you know, went on to do The Simpsons. And, you know, man, that cast was another great cast. It really was.
Yeah, do people still quote to you, "To whom, brother?"
All the time, you know, you know, when I see him at the conventions, or you know, but it's a really interesting because, you know, it was weird because Jay Patterson, I got to tell you, you know, talk about an incredible actor and talk about an incredible villain in that film.
Yeah,
I mean, unbelievable where he went with that character, you know. Mm-hmm. I remember Michael Danare telling me, you know who begged to do that film and that role. I don't know if even Jay knows this, but the actor who wanted that role because he was so stereotyped as Luke Skywalker, mm-hmm. was Mark Hamill. He begged the director, Michael Danare, to do that role. That was what he wanted. And obviously, Michael went with Jay Patterson, who was just incredible, you know? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Then, coincidentally, you were in National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Yeah, you know, that was you know, a favor because I absolutely, you know, adored Chevy Chase, and I you know, became friends with him in New York, and he was a nice guy, and mm-hmm. And then Amy Heckerling, who I knew through Judge Reinhold, they both said, "Would you do the Froger son?" I said, "Yeah, of course," you know, and so I get to dress up as a pig in a poke.
Yeah, was it hot in that costume?
No, I don't even remember. It was just fun, and you know, and it was a bummer because, you know, Dana didn't get to play that Audrey. You know, it was another Dana.
Yeah. It
wasn't Dana Barron. It was
Dana Hill.
Oh, I can't remember. Dana Hill, who unfortunately is no longer with us.
Yeah.
But she was lovely too. She's a lovely, lovely girl. But I, you know, only worked on that set for a couple of days. But it was fun. You know, I mean, hey, being in European Vacation, I can't complain there. You know.
Yeah, Paul Bartel playing your dad and Cynthia Zaghetti played your mom.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, can you imagine? And then I think I went on to do another movie with Cynthia Zaghetti where we played boyfriend and girlfriend.
Really?
No, it was a play.
Uh-huh.
We played boyfriend and girlfriend.
Oh, God.
It was funny. God, I haven't seen her and spoken to Cynthia.
Oh, well, I can tell you, Malcolm, Cynthia passed away 3 years ago.
Oh, I did not know that. I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, she had cancer for about 6 years. Her best friend from high school and the Groundlings, Terry Bolo, is a good friend of mine, and she told me that, Cynthia was in like 3 different hospices during the last year she was alive because they couldn't take her Italian attitude.
Oh, my Lord. No, she was, I'm very sad to hear that, you know. She was a very, very talented actress. Oh, my God.
She was hilarious. She was really, really funny. And she taught Lisa Kudrow at the Groundlings.
Yeah, and well, it's funny because my improv teacher founded the Groundlings, and his name was Gary Austin, and he passed away a couple years ago. So it was really sad, but he was one of the, I think he was the founder of the Groundlings.
He was the founder, yes. He had been in the committee in San Francisco, and then when they all migrated to L.A. and then spun off in different directions, and then he went and formed the Groundlings with Terry Bolo and Lorraine Newman and her sister and all them.
Exactly, yeah, all those people. So, Gary wanted to start another one, and what was really interesting was as my career started to really take off, the one person that really begged me to become a stand-up comic on top of being an actor was Bud Friedman.
Oh, yes.
Bud begged me, said to me, I will stand behind you. I want you to become a stand-up comic. And quite honestly, Tommy, I didn't know. I knew how to learn lines, but I didn't know how to deliver a joke. I really didn't know how to deliver a joke. I would laugh at people who delivered great jokes, but I couldn't do it. I just didn't want to get up on stage and be by myself and try to make people laugh. And I turned the great Bud Friedman down,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it on and off for 13 years, in the open mic and stuff. It's a lot of work. It's very hard.
It really is, and you gotta, and the problem is today with stand-up comic, comedy, I should say, is that I say screw being politically correct.
I do too.
What's going to make people laugh? Political uncorrectness.
Right.
So now you can't say anything about anything where it's going to, insult somebody. So that's another real shame that stand-up comics can't say things anymore to make people laugh. So that's another thing. But, back then, when you listen, I get what happened with Bill Cosby, but when you watch Bill Cosby do the dentist routine, it's freaking hilarious. You know what I mean? When you watch Eddie Murphy when he was doing his stand-up routines, they were incredible. You can't do that anymore.
I know. It's just, it's become really messed up. I think, though, hopefully, fingers crossed, if Trump is impeached, the political correctness will go away.
Yeah, bring back, look, I know that Bill Maher got in trouble a couple weeks ago for shaming fat people. I thought that was one of the funniest. I thought that was incredible when he went on and on about that. I thought it was hilarious, but, unfortunately, Bill got in trouble for that. But that's a bummer.
Yeah.
It's a real bummer.
It's a real bummer. But I was curious, what was your experience like making The Curse?
Look, I loved Will Wheaton. Will was great. He just came off a Stand By Me. And, The Curse... The Curse was really fun because we got to shoot it in the most bizarre of places. Number one, Calico Plains, and those were all the exteriors were done in Tennessee. A place called Calico Plains, which is, out of Sweetwater, Tennessee. It's so in the backwoods where we shot that film. Exteriors. Then we shot the interiors in Rome, Italy.
Wow.
So, it was fun. It was great. I got to work with the great Steve Carlisle. Steve Carlisle was just a blast to work with, but that's my first meeting with John Schneider. And John Schneider and I went on to do, 3 or 4 films together, and he directed me in a film. But The Curse was tough because, I'm not a guy who likes to sit in 3 hours of, prosthetic makeup. I don't like that. And, it was an interesting film to make. It was, to say the least, interesting. Nobody really ever brings The Curse up, but I know that it's one of the most grossest films ever made.
Yeah, Jill Sholin told me when she did the second one, it wasn't a very happy experience, and so I said, okay, we'll just leave it at that.
My darling Jill. Jill is to this day one of my dearest and best friends. We just spoke a couple days ago, and it was great because we did a movie together in Jamaica called Popcorn.
Love that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a pretty horrific film to shoot. I loved everybody in the film, but I absolutely could not stand, working in Kingston, Jamaica. Had a horrible time in Kingston because unfortunately, every time somebody got fired off of that film, we had to start all over. I don't know if Jill told you that, but
yeah.
Because one of the actresses, the lead actress, unfortunately or fortunately, because I got to meet Jilly, but she was fired off the film. So when Jill came on, we had to reshoot everything. And then the director was fired. And then when the new director came on, we had to reshoot everything again.
Oh.
So it just was just a miserable time, being in Jamaica. Everybody, loves Jamaica. I guess because they get to go to the resorts. We never got to go to any resort. We just had to stay in Kingston. So I just really had a very, very, very tough time filming that. I actually tried to get fired myself.
Really?
I couldn't. No, I'm kidding. It was, that would have gotten me off the island of Jamaica. So, it was crazy.
Yeah, I talked to Jill last week, and she said, I heard you're going to be interviewing my good friend Malcolm Danare. And I was like, yes, I am looking forward to it and stuff. And she's like, yeah, give him my love. So Jilly, I cannot say more loving and wonderful things about Jill Sholin. She's a wonderful actress. I've written many things, and she's my go-to. There's two of my go-to actresses that I will always, when I'm producing something or I write something, I'll go to Kate Vernon, and she's just an incredible actress, and I'll go to Jill Sholin. They're my go-to girls. John Vernon's daughter, yeah.
John Vernon's daughter, and she's just an incredible actress, and her daughter is my goddaughter. So it's all in the family.
Yeah.
It's fun working with people you completely and utterly trust. It
is. That's wonderful. Did you like working with Dee Wallace on Popcorn?
I love Dee. Dee was great. I've run into her a few times. When we're out on the road doing the convention circuit, and she's nothing but a darling, darling lady, and just a love of a woman, lovely woman. I haven't spoken to her in the last few years, but she's just wonderful.
Yeah, I've done a couple podcasts with her, and she's really sweet. And oh my God, she's got such a potty mouth that I love.
Oh yeah, I love the potty mouth actresses. They're great. They really are. I'll tell you one of the biggest potty mouth actresses. Do you remember a TV show, The Ghost of Mrs. Muir?
I remember the movie with Don Knotts.
Well, The Ghost of Mrs. Muir. I did a TV series with Hope Lang. And I have never heard a more potty mouth on a woman. I'm not even going to go with potty. I'm going to say it's urinal mouth. Okay? We just made up an expression, urinal mouth. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Coming from this classic actress, it was just fantastic. So I didn't know that Dee had such a potty mouth.
Oh, yeah, she can. And she loves my dirty jokes that I tell her and stuff. And she loves, and whenever I see her at conventions, she's just very sweet.
That's great. I please send her my best, when you see her, or I'll run into her sooner or later. But
I sure will.
Excuse me, that it would be great to see her. And this is just it's fun to go back over memories. I have to say, when you do the podcasts now.
Absolutely. Do you have any great stories about working with Mel Brooks on Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Um, it's really interesting. Mel Brooks was it was weird because I didn't get to really work with him that much. He was there as the director, but I didn't get to do a lot on that film. But what I did do, it was incredible. I mean, it's Mel Brooks, man. You're on the set with one of the icons of comedy.
Yeah.
And I wish I worked with him more intimately, but it was more like, okay, do this, let's get it done, this and that. And look, there was another reason I wanted to, to do something like that, just because I would get to, the honor to say that I worked with Mel Brooks.
Yeah, he's one of the greats.
So don't have a lot of Mel Brooks stories, unfortunately. I wish I did. I absolutely wish I did.
How about how about Roland Emmerich?
Well, Roland, that was incredible because, Dean Devlin and myself, and we're still extremely close friends. So Dean, you always get your clique of people. So in the 80s, my clique that I hung out with was Dean Devlin, Tate Donovan, Adam Baldwin. There was a little bit of the George Clooney, but then George started his clique.
Yeah.
So then Dean and I, started our clique, and then it kind of turned into Matthew Perry, and then all these different guys, because Dean and I started the celebrity hockey team that was on, that we had going. Now we're not a part of it because it's gotten so politically ridiculous. But at the time, we had Michael Keaton on the team, Alan Thicke, Adam Baldwin, Peter Berg. I mean, it was just an incredible thing. And we got to go all around the United States and play the alumni of hockey teams. So here I am on the ice with Bobby Hall or, Marcel Dion or Gordie Howe. It was just incredible. So, we had our little cliques back in the 80s. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, Grant Heslov, was he part of it?
Well, Grant ended up being, so it was, the Clooney had Grant Heslov, he had Richard Kind,
yeah,
and then Tate Donovan became part of that, left that. It was very funny. We all just clicked around, you know what I mean? And there was this club that we would all go to on a Friday night. It was called the Crush Club.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that many, many people, will go, oh my God, the Crush Club, LA in the 80s was fantastic. I mean, it was fantastic. There was, it was no holds barred,
Yeah. So did you leave the business for a while and then come back?
No, I never ever really left the business. What I did do, excuse me, was I started writing, and I had, after Godzilla, which was 1998, 99.
Yeah.
I had done Godzilla, and I'd gotten a really great role in that film. And obviously, look, hey, Dean Devlin was one of my best friends. I had, had a little itty-bitty role in Independence Day, but, the role of Mendel Craven was written for me. And then I got to do, the TV series, the animated series. And I started to get into voiceover. And I found it was just so lucrative. It was like, man, why do I need to audition? Yeah, I did a lot of different acting gigs and, but I started, really making a really good living in voiceovers. And I kind of went, man, I'm going to do this. And then around, in the early 2000s, I got a recurring role on CSI Miami. And I had a great time doing that, and I really, really, really loved working with David Caruso. So in between, Godzilla, I did a ton of voiceovers. I did a ton of, guest star roles on TV series. But I just, really started to concentrate on what is going to make me feel, fun as a creative actor.
Mm-hmm.
Or, excuse me, as a creative person. So I started writing, and writing started to kind of take over a little bit. And then I wrote a play in 2007 called In Heat that became a huge, huge hit in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
I produced it. I put my own money into it. I did everything. And I went to incredible actors and said, I'm producing this play. James Eckhouse is directing it. I want you to do this. And James directed it. I produced it. I starred in it. And then I got to work with the likes of, the incredible John Kapelos.
Mm-hmm. Love John.
The incredible John Kapelos, incredible Mary Mara,
I love Mary.
Thomas.
Yeah.
The cast was just spectacular from In Heat. And then all of a sudden, the Gordon brothers, Chuck Gordon and Larry Gordon, came to see the play, and they said, "We want to do this as a movie. We want you and James to adapt it." And we're like, "Oh my God, that's going to be incredible!" And then the play, after the play did its run in L.A., we moved it. We were going to move it to New York in 2008, and that was when the economy fell to pieces. So we had the investors, we had everything to put it up, off Broadway, and unfortunately it didn't work because the money fell out. But doing that got me into writing. So I just had the best time. So I've been writing. In the last few years, I've been now getting back into acting, but I've been producing too. I've been producing, movies that are like about $100,000, $200,000.
Yeah.
The biggest one I did was $1 million, and it was called Amelia. Amelia 2000. And it had Ed Begley Jr. in it, Kate Vernon,
wow.
Eddie Jemison. It had some really the incredible Chris Ellis. I don't know if you've ever met Chris Ellis, but he's incredible. And that's where we're at right now. And have some incredible projects going on right now, and crossing my fingers on a lot of them.
That's great. Too, the internet and the convention scene has really enabled 80s movie actors to have a second chance after leaving the business for a while and doing other things, and I've been so lucky. I've interviewed so many of those people, and they've all just felt so grateful.
Yeah, it's incredible to do the conventions. It's incredible to meet the people that, really adore your movies and really like you, and it's great. It really is. There was a time where I didn't want to put myself out there. I wanted to, sort of stay in the shadows, but you know what? You can't really do that anymore. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't do it with the internet. So, hey, I'm out there. I'm out there having fun and playing again. So it's an awesome time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Do you have any upcoming projects you want to plug?
Yeah, I'm working on a project right now. Man, what's incredible about it is, do you remember Bernie Brillstein? Bernie Brillstein?
Yeah, Bernie Brillstein. He managed all the Saturday Night Live guys.
Absolutely. Well, his daughter is one of my partners in in everything.
Yeah.
So we're working on a project, a horror comedy, half-hour, horror comedy, which I would love to talk about and would really love to go into it, but it's so fun and so high concept that I'm going to, keep closed mouth about it right now. And then, I'm writing a feature script by myself again. So, I'm having a good time. And plus, everybody seems to want me to act again. So, putting it out there again. Hey, I'm going to do the acting. I'm a different looking guy from what I was when I was a younger guy.
Yeah, you got to reinvent yourself.
Yeah, you really have to reinvent yourself these days. And look, with all the television, all the things that are going on, with all the networks, the new networks, it's not going to be hard. It really isn't going to be hard. So I'm looking for it. I'm out there again.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, I hope I get to meet you at a convention eventually.
Yeah, that'd be great. Hopefully.
Because I come out to conventions in L.A., San Francisco, everywhere in California.
Good. Hey, well, look, you know what, Tommy, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I've had a great time, and I hope that your listeners will smile at some of the things I got to tell you.
Yeah, this has been a tremendous honor, Malcolm. I'm so glad we got to talk. Maybe when that project comes to fruition, we can talk about it.
I would love to. I'll give you this one. You'll be the first guy I come to.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Malcolm. Well, you have yourself a great day.
Absolutely. And I wish you all the best on your podcast. You're a really good guy, Tommy, and I like the questions that you ask.
Oh, I try to be, and I try to ask good questions. Thank you so much.
And you do. So, hey, have a great day, and everybody out there, have a great day and a great rest of the year.
You too, Malcolm. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Well, there you have it. Malcolm Danare. Ain't he a cool dude? Oh, my God. He was just full of great stories and great anecdotes, and wow, God, he knows everybody in Hollywood. I love a guest like that. That is so awesome. Great guy. Can't wait to talk to him again in the future. I forgot to mention in the intro, happy birthday to guest Chip McAllister. Happy birthday to you, sir. Magneto Jones and Hamburger the Motion Picture. Fucking awesome. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!